Have you ever found yourself feeling lost, overwhelmed, or unsure about the direction of your life? If so, you're not alone. In today's fast paced world, many people struggle to find clarity amid the noise. But what if I told you that clarity is not just a distant goal, but a journey you can obtain actively and navigate your way through life? In this episode, we'll share insightful strategies to help you uncover your true purpose, identify the roadblocks that hold you back, and develop actionable steps to achieve your goals. Whether you're at a crossroad in your career, seeking personal growth, or simply looking to enhance your self awareness, this conversation is packed with valuable insights that will inspire and empower you. So grab a notebook, settle in, and get ready to embark on a journey towards clarity. By the end of this episode, you'll be equipped with the tools and mindset not only define your purpose, but also to take the steps needed to turn aspirations into reality. Let's get started on this excited journey together. And here we go. So, we started this conversation off talking about me reflecting on the things that we've accomplished, the things that I didn't accomplish over the years. And one of the things I wanted to make sure that everybody understood is that I was not upset, disappointed, or even ruminating on the fact that I did not accomplish those goals. So when it comes down to this conversation, the first place I want to go is understanding clarity and what clarity really means. So when it comes down to it, bro, I just want to kind of put this out there and ask this question to you. What does it mean to have clarity in your life, and how would you describe a state of clarity?
PSS, plain simple and stupid. So here we go. Um, these glasses that I got on, these bifocal, right? They're transition. The reason why I got them on is because up to a certain distance, things are a little blurry. Things are a lot, they're not clear. So when I put these on, I can text and I ain't gotta use the old people font. So I can write on my whiteboard over here. I can write on my whiteboard over here, and I can see it with clarity. So to me, keeping it really simple, what does it mean to have clarity in your life? Having clarity in your life means that you can see. So, and what I mean by see is you can see things that are coming. You can see which directions to go. You can see um, how you're supposed to be in your relationships. You can see how you're supposed to be with your finances. So it allows you to be able to see things. And how would I describe a state of clarity? Is kind of like that. State of clarity is that, like I said, it allows you to be able to see things. If I didn't have these glasses on and I was trying to text coach or trying to text Shell in the other room, I may have to squint or move the phone back in order to be able to do that, right? So sometimes that can be frustrating for me. I went to mail a box yesterday for my cousin, and the lady's like, "Oh, this to an APO. You gotta fill out this paperwork." So I was like, "All right, hold on, I'll be back. I gotta go get my glasses." So sometimes, when you have a state when you're not things are not clear in your life, you can have frustration. But I think when you have a certain level of clarity in certain areas of your life, it allows you to see things better and it allows you to have less frustration and sometimes even less stress. So that's kind of where I want to start at right now.
I like that. I like that. And I love the analogy of the glasses, man. It really, it for the no pun intended, but it really makes things clear. Um,
I like that.
but I will start off for me with this backwards. I'll start off with the state of clarity. Because for me, I look at the state of clarity of like having an understanding which is focused on my values and focus on the purpose that I've adopted for my life, which also gives me direction. Therefore, now clarity is more so a thing to where it is intentional living, it is focus, and it is confidence. So now when I look at it, whatever my purpose is, I live intentionally according to that particular purpose. I am laser focused on the things that I understand as my values, and the goals that I've established for my life in the direction of the purpose that I'm living. And last but not least, I am confident in that particular perspective. And I think that as we understand it, if when we process that, right, when we process everything that was said between the both of us, that should clearly define clarity, not just for us that's up here talking to everybody else, but it should provide clarity on what clarity really is for everybody else, right? So, again, going back to understand that clarity is the understanding that is focused on my values and goals, which gives me direction. And again, it allows me to live with intentionality. It allows me to remain focused, right? Going back to the analogy that you gave again, which is an awesome analogy. And last but not least, it gives me confidence in the things that I'm doing in my life, because I am focused on those things purely, not necessarily all of the distractions on the outside. So that's kind of like my thoughts as it pertains to this. Anything that you want to kind of inject in? Because again, I love the glasses analogy, bro. Because you were spot on.
I do want to inject some more. You know, the title of this is called "The Path to Clarity." So, um, you've mentioned before the term polarities. So, some people know what clarity is, but I think maybe we should also kind of talk about the opposite of clarity. So what I kind of want to know from you, like what is the opposite of clarity in your opinion, and maybe and and how does that look? Because if we're going to be talking about a path of clarity, then there may be some people who are listening right now who may not be sure if they're clear on something, or if they're, you know, whatever they're focused on right now, if they have clarity, they're like, you know what, I got this goal I want to know, but you know it ain't really clear. Or is it clear? You know, should I do this goal, or should I do this? Should I train for a marathon, or should I focus on losing the weight? You know what I mean? So I just kind of want you to kind of, if you can, kind of look at it, kind of give us the opposite of clarity, and maybe how that may look like in someone's life right now.
No, I think that's good, and that's really where we was going with this conversation.
Oh, for real?
Yeah, you get.
Okay.
Um, because to me, lack of clarity is the opposite of everything I just said. Right?
Mm,
There is no understanding of what my purpose is. Therefore, I don't necessarily have clear cut values. Therefore, it does not allow me to have that direction. And when I don't have that direction in my life, then the things that ends up happening is that I am not, um, I'm not focused on, living with intentionality. And by that same token, I am not confident. So what does that really mean? That means that I can be extremely indecisive when it comes down to a thing. And people who know me, that's one of the things I think, it's one of my strengths. If you say, hey man, I got this cup that I want to sell you, and I'm like, okay, great. Um, First and foremost, I look at two things. I look at relationship, and I look at, what is the purpose of the thing, and how much value does it add to me. If I have a relationship with the person, then this right here doesn't matter. It's the relationship that I look at as being most important. So if I have a relationship with that person, then I'm purchasing it because of the relationship, right? But then the other side is, if this thing adds value to me, right, based upon the goals that I have in my life, based upon the value that I've already have established in the direction in which I'm going, then I'm purchasing it based upon the value of the thing. But if both of those things align, the relationship and the value, then there is no thought process that I need to put into it. Um, there's a lot of stress when we don't have clarity in our life as well. And the reason why those stressors, I believe, inject themselves in our life, because there's a lot of distractions, because we're not laser focused. And so this thing shows up, and it's like the shiny penny syndrome. Oh, look at this. This shows up. Oh, look at this thing over here. And so what we end up doing is we saturate ourselves with a lot of these distractors. Social media can be one, right? Because I'm not focused on the information that I'm obtaining a large conglomerate of information of all different various areas of life and fields and things of that nature. So you got Shannon Sharp on Club Shay Shay is talking about this. You got what's the Ryan? Oh man, Ryan Clark. They're talking about this. You got these people over here talking about this. You got some people over here talking about um, Travis Hunter, and so all of this stuff just super saturates my being. But how does it add value to me? My value, to my values, to my goals, and to the direction that I have in my life. Well, if I don't have those things, then at the end of the day, I can't really sift through the information and only pull out the information that's value. And then in the space of pulling out the information of value, which information is accurate? Because that's always another level of sifting that must take place when it comes down to the stuff. So the lack of clarity creates a lot of the anxiety that we experience in a day-to-day life moving forward. So again, rambling again, I apologize, but I want to make sure that I provided clarity to your question. Puns
Yeah,
all day, just so y'all know.
I like it. I like it. um, how does clarity impact your decision making and ability to achieve your goals? Um, I don't know if you remember in middle school, but probably definitely in high school. And I'm gonna pick on the ladies for a little bit. All right, so don't get mad at me. This is just based off my observation. All right, and some of y'all might even laugh. Remember in middle school and high school, girls would write their names and they be like, Shell, whatever, blah, blah, blah. And they write their name with the guy's name or their boyfriend and stuff. And then they name their kids and all of these different things, right? So at some point, they had a goal to one day marry this guy, have some kids, have the house, the white picket fence, and all of these different things. But what happened along the way was maybe that person was not really clear about the person that they were choosing and the person who they were. And that is okay because a lot of us was 17 and 18 and 19 and 20 before. You know what I mean? A lot of us got married way too early. A lot of us wasn't, and it's no shade or no disrespect to anybody that we married. You know what I mean? We were young, we didn't have a clear picture on life yet. We were young. We were 19, 20 years old. We were making really grown up decisions. When you're talking about marrying somebody and spend the rest of your life with them, there's a lot of information that you should be clear about, you know? But what happens is a lot of times the there's no clarity. We got our glasses off, right? So now we can't see the person for who they are. And part of that is because we don't know who we are. If we don't know who we are and we don't know what our purpose are, there's no way in the world we're going to be able to know who the person for us is. So, how does lack of clarity impact our decision making and ability to achieve our goals? It impacts it, and it causes us to make decisions based off of lack of information and just lack of a blurred vision on whatever it is you're making a decision about.
I think that's good, really good, actually, a perfect example. And I think I want to add one more piece to it as well, because I think this one is really important. Because everybody's been in a place in their life, given the perfect example that you gave, to where you sat back and like, how did I get here? Right? How did I get here? How did things get this far off track? Whether we're talking a relationship, whether we're talking career aspect of your career aspects, or whether we're just talking your life in general. Like I think everybody at some point is like, how did I get here? And that leads me to misaligned actions, because sometimes we make decisions and actions that do not align with our core beliefs. And unfortunately, when those actions are not aligned with your core beliefs, then you're going to get the results of those actions. And when you see those results don't necessarily line up with what you really and truly do believe. So now when you look at the lack of clarity, which led to your decision to do this thing, to marry someone, and you're not necessarily ready to be married, to make an investment, and you have not done the necessarily pre work that makes it possible for you to make that investment, to do it, make a decision to do a thing that yielded an outcome that put you in a particular situation, whether you were behind bars or whatever that looks like. Like again, those are all examples of misaligned actions. It's not an exhaustive example. There's several examples that we can come up with. Those are just a few. But I think when we go back, research ourselves, I think everybody is guilty of making a decision to where you be like, how did I get here? How did I get to this stage in my life based upon what I knew, based upon the decisions that I made? How did I get to this particular place to where this is the result that I'm receiving right now? And I'm not pleased with those results. And so a lot of that is traced back to the misaligned actions. I know I know a lot of people don't like listening to this when I say it, but any situation that you find yourself a part of, you are participative, right? So, in some shape, form, or fashion, you made a decision for the thing to exist.
Mhm.
So, on the backside, when you're not pleased with the outcome, I can't sit there and 100% blame the thing. I have to look at self and say, how did my actions lead me here? Because I promise you, there were some signs and symptoms over here that said, hey, this is a wolf. I don't care. And I'm not necessarily talking about a person. I'm just saying in general, this is a wolf. And you say, you know what? I'm going to get in a relationship with the wolf. Well, you can't get mad when the wolf decides to bite because that's what wolves do, right? So now you're mad at the wolf and you're blaming the wolf for being the wolf. No, you got to stop and look in the mirror and say, you know what, self? Have a conversation. Say, you know what, self? And yourself going to respond. Your self going to say, huh? And then you got to be honest with self. And you may not necessarily like the response that self gives you, but that's okay. Listen to what the response is. Ask yourself necessary questions and demand a response. When you get that response, then it should help you. And again, it has to be an authentic response. It can't just be an excuse, right? Once you give yourself a response on the question that you ask, then you'll realize that, you know what? My actions may have been misaligned with my belief system.
Yep, I get it. I
Yeah,
get
man.
it.
And I think we kind of already talked about this just a little bit. Like, what are some common signs that you may be lacking clarity in your personal and professional life? Again, everything we just talked about. Great. I'm sorry.
But yeah, I want to add something to this. I
Sure.
think um a common sign, and I think sometimes overlooked, is the inability to make a decision. Um, especially when you're making a big decision, it can sometimes clarity ain't as easy as ABC. Sometimes it takes a lot of thought. We've talked about it on this show many times about how, some men have stayed in relationships a long time, when they should have, some would say that they should have gotten out. But we're talking about military guys who, the only time you may be able to see your child is if you stay in the relationship, because it's not like you're living in the same city with your child's mother. You may be in a different city, a different state, a different country. You may be deployed for 12 or 15 months. So it's a different rules for over there. And sometimes when you are thinking about going through a divorce or a separation and there's children involved and stuff like that, you know, a sign that it's not clear is the indecisiveness. Like, man, should I stay? Should I leave? I'm thinking about the kids, but I'm also thinking about my retirement. I'm thinking about her, and I'm also thinking about alimony or whatever it is that goes along into it. So some of the signs that you may still be lacking clarity in your personal life may be, and that was just one example, but may just be the inability to really make a decision. When you can't make a decision, you don't know. But when you make a decision, it's really clear. You like, you know what? I'm getting divorced, or I'm staying together. No, I'm staying together. I'm working it out. We're going to counseling. We're going to therapy. We setting boundaries, setting parameters along in this relationship, and this is what we're going to do. When you make a decision, I think things look a lot more clear than versus when when you're on the fence or you're not sure exactly which direction to go.
I do like you bring using that example because I experienced that. That's why I
Yeah,
like it. But we do understand that there are some women who are in that category as well, and they
absolutely.
themselves probably stayed in relationships too long. And I think a lot of times these feelings, yes, I'm talking about feelings, y'all. I get it. These feelings that these people experience can sound like dissatisfied. It could be like they're dissatisfied with their current outcome. Kind of going back to what I talked about previously. Now we got to be careful with dissatisfaction, right? Because the opposite side of dissatisfaction is satisfaction. And so sometimes I don't think we necessarily know what satisfaction is all about. We may know what content is, we may know what excitement is, but when we are not satisfied with a thing, I know for the most part, I know we understand that, but I think a lot of times we need to go back and again assess the why. The big piece for me is the emotional turmoil, right? We'll find ourselves like it's almost like being in a blender, a grinder, if you will. Like you're having these emotions within you that, like,
Hmm.
it's like, have you ever experienced that person that calls you and you automatically feel anxiety when you see their name on the phone? Like
I
that's kind of
used
like,
to.
yeah, yeah. So yeah, exactly. So that's kind of like what I'm talking about, right? Like if you find yourself in a situation to wherever you're around a particular person or you're in a particular situation or you go to work and you automatically feel anxiety just by walking in the door, like that's a sign that that you might be in a space to where again you made a decision based upon lack of clarity. So those things exist, I really and truly do believe, as signs and indicators. And that kind of goes back to what I say saying all the time. Our emotions are indicators for us to assess a current situation or environment. A lot of times we act off of the sheer emotion. That's not what we're supposed to do. We're supposed to analyze those emotions to see what we're learning in real time based upon my current situation, whatever that looks like. And so I think that's important. Understand the emotional turmoil if it exists and why. Doesn't necessarily mean the environment has to change. I may need to reassess what I believe or don't understand to be clarity. Because if I don't have clarity, I can still be in a good situation, but because I don't have clarity, I'm experiencing emotional turmoil. So, first assess self, understand why, then make the necessary adjustments within first. If the turmoil is because of everything on the outside, then that means that you may need to separate yourself from that environment, kind of like what I just talked about. You know, and I asked that particular question about whenever somebody call you feel anxiety, because I think everybody has that. Everybody has experienced that. Everybody got that one friend to when they call, they ain't calling to check on you. Give them
Hmm.
5 minutes on the phone, and they're going to get to that thing that they're calling for. It's not that they were
Hmm.
calling because they're concerned about you or whatever. They want something from you. So now we gotta, and again, I get it. Everybody's in different spaces, and this is not a thing of judgment. It's a thing of clarity, right? Because our relationship dynamics are viewed differently by both parties. So how did I end up in a relationship with this person, right? Again, go back and look at all those things. These are all common signs. These things that exist in here are signs and indicators to help you to understand some of the challenges that we're dealing with.
Yeah, man. A lot of good points. I was also thinking about, one quick thing about the professional life too. You know, we all most of us who retired, there was a point in our career where we was looking at should we do a little bit more time and get that extra promotion or should we get out? That's the same thing with people in their professional life too, so sometimes, you know, when you know that I guess what I'm trying to say is that not having clarity is not necessarily a bad thing. In many cases it's a starting point. When you recognize that you're not clear about something, now you can start adjusting or coming up with a plan or whatever it is to move forward. But we probably going to get into that. But I just want to throw that out there.
Well, I like that because again, the starting point kind of is the thing that propels us in the direction. So it's only a starting point if you plan to move forward. I want to make sure I'm addressing that. So what are the key elements of self-awareness, the starting point, right? And how can we cultivate a deeper understanding of yourself?
Ooh, man. What are the key elements of self awareness? I'll start with the one that I think the biggest one is, and that's truth and or honesty. Whew, man. I think a lot of people are not being true to themselves. Like, you don't have real self awareness if you can't be honest with yourself. Like, you don't have real self awareness if you can't be honest with yourself. Like, you, like, why are you gonna lie to yourself? Like, I mean, come on, man. Like, just think about that. Like, why of all people, people say, I love myself. I'm beautiful. People say I'm black and I'm beautiful. All these different things that people say and quote, love me for me. But then you won't tell yourself the truth. Like, this is the first time I'm seeing the question. And that was the first thing that jumped out to me as a key element of self-awareness. Now, if it's not one, it is one, man. And how can you cultivate a deeper understanding of yourself? Look, right back to that. You got to be honest with yourself. Like, you really do. And that in many cases takes some growth. It takes some growing up. And I'm not talking about age, but when you can look at yourself in the mirror and you be like, look, this is who you are, and accept the accountability piece, accept the awareness. And then if you don't like it, then do something about it, make the adjustment. But first of all, don't look yourself in the mirror and lie to yourself and say it's okay when you see the person that you see. And I ain't even talking about the physical you. I'm talking about the person you see in the mirror, not the physical body, the person who you really are. When you really take a good hard look at yourself, you have to be honest with that person. If you ain't honest with that person, you can't grow, you can't get better. You're never going to be have a certain level of self-awareness. So I don't know, man. I don't know if I started rambling, but I want to stop right there with the truth part. So truth, and then sprinkle in some honesty.
Man, listen, I feel like we can end the show right now.
Man, is there anything else
Yes, yes, there is, but everything is rooted in that.
in the truth?
Everything is rooted in the truth. Like I
Mm,
can't, I can't stress that enough. Like and so let me go back and say it the right way, because I believe that there's the truth, what is true, facts, assumptions, and then opinions. Right. I think a lot of times this is what we tend to do. Okay. In the quest to get to the truth, we have a very jaded perspective of reality. Therefore, it's very difficult for us to understand what is true because facts look different from person to person. And in the big scheme of things, what we do is we disregard assumptions. But an assumption is still a valid perspective.
mm-hmm.
Even though you may identify it as an assumption, but it's only an assumption because it's rooted in some previously understood fact. Therefore, assumptions are valid. And dependent upon the individual that you're talking to and the value that you have in that person, your relationship, another person's opinion matters as well. Therefore, feedback is just as valuable as self reflection. And I think too many times we live in a world to where we disregard feedback because their feedback does not line up with my perspective of myself. Maybe the problem is that you have a flawed perspective of self. Go ahead.
Where where do I go to get feedback? Because being the ripe old age of 49, I think that I could give I think I could give some people some feedback that would be beneficial to their lives. However, comma, maybe my delivery, or maybe they're not open for feedback. So when you talk about that, where do people go to get feedback? You know, like where can somebody go to say, hey, you know what, I need to get feedback because I need to know how I really am.
So, great question. First and foremost, I will start with this one thing, and then I do multiples. So, a great place to get feedback, number one, is do an assessment on yourself, right? That's one of the things that I enjoy doing. I enjoy doing assessments because I get to be a non biased party of another person's reality, right? The assessment is based upon how they answer the question, and then we have a conversation afterwards. We're only talking about the things that they said. I don't get a vote in it. So when you take assessments about yourself, and there are several assessments out there. You got DISC, you got Myers Briggs, you got all of the different assessments, right? So when you take an assessment for yourself, then what you're doing is you're getting the ball rolling. I call that a GPS model to progression, right? That is literally a starting point. Another great aspect of feedback is like your social circle. Now, now I will say this: everybody in your social circle is not valuable assets of feedback, because there are some people in your social circle that are only going to tell you the things that they think you want to hear. Those are not the people that you should be getting feedback from. You need an honest broker in your social circle that'll be just like the dude off of what is that, Minister Society? You know you done messed up, right?
Oh yeah.
You know you done messed up, right? Like
Hmm.
you need one of those people in your corner. You address the fact that your delivery. Delivery matters when I'm trying to sell you something. But if I'm talking to you about you, and if you don't have the necessary level of emotional intelligence to be able to sift through another person's delivery to get after the meat and potatoes of what they're trying to give you, that's not necessarily an Uncle Junior issue. You
Hmm.
see what I'm saying? Uncle Junior may be a straight shooter. He may be straightforward. He may deliver it like you. The quickest way to get from point A to point B is a straight line. If you're looking for Garfield to do all of this right here to get you, well, I believe, I feel, I'm not doing none of that. I'm just going to tell you the truth. I'm not doing that. I don't have time. Listen, I don't like wasted words. So if I see something, then I should have the ability to address the thing that I see. What we have to learn to do is separate the behavior from the being. And too many times when people hear someone addressing their behavior, they automatically assume that you're attacking the being. That's not a true statement, right? We have to get out of that mindset. Okay. So again, you have the assessments that you can take, you have trusted, valued partners in your social circle, and there are a lot of times people who are not in your social circles who can give you some very valuable feedback because they don't know you. So if they're addressing your behavior, addressing something that you're currently doing, they may only be talking about their observation. But you have to be careful with that one as well, because sometimes these people may be projecting some things on you. So again, you have to be to the point to where you are emotional intelligent enough to where you don't take everything to heart, right? So feedback from others is oh man, I can't stress that enough. And again, I go back to the point where we're in a world, in a society, to where a lot of times that's shunned, that's pushed aside, right? You're only saying that because, well, a lot of the time they're only saying that because it's a fact, right? And I go back to the point. There's a difference between the truth, what is true, facts, assumptions, and opinions. All of them are valued. But again, when we get down to opinions, the opinions thing should only come from a person that you know, trust, and that person must be an honest broker and will tell you exactly what you need to hear, not necessarily what you want to hear.
Appreciate that, man.
Did I answer
I
your
know.
question?
I know. Oh yeah, absolutely, absolutely.
Okay.
I know people out there. Some people are not well with accepting feedback. especially if it's negative feedback. Um,
Well, what makes it negative though?
well, I guess they assume it or they perceive it as being negative. I don't, but I see it as any feedback that you can give me that allows me to grow and get better is positive feedback. But when you say, hey, you need to watch your tone, how you talk to people, they like, oh, that's negative feedback, but whatever. So,
Well, that's a great segue into the next talking point, sir. Because now we're talking about common barriers that prevent individuals from achieving clarity. And I
hmm
think what you just said was a great one. So, some people's inability to accept feedback.
hmm
And I wanted to ask, and I'm glad you said it, the negative aspect of feedback. Like, why does feedback have to be negative or positive? Why feedback just can't be feedback?
mm,
Like, if you're at work and you get an evaluation on what you're doing, is and let me back up. Before the evaluation come, I remember in the army we used to do these things called SAVs, SAV, staff assisted visits. And the staff assisted visit was kind of like your feedback on what the evaluation is to come. Okay. Well, even though we may have missed the mark on some of the things that we received on the staff assisted visit, sure, we can look at it and say it's negative. But why? When I can look at it as just simply feedback on what they observe, and now it gives me the opportunity to make the necessary adjustment. So I think that's the thing when it comes down to some of these aspects of feedback. We need to stop viewing feedback as negative and view feedback as feedback. Once we view feedback as feedback, now we can take that information and make the necessary adjustments, especially if we now start to see them based upon what somebody else says.
mm.
So, great one. Can you think of any other common obstacles that prevent individuals from achieving clarity?
I forgot about this question. I know I'd already talked about the truth part of it. We talked about that other one. What could be another obstacle for the individuals? Um, I think the I don't know. I still want to just talk about the truth again, but um, I think that would be kind of going back to the other one. I don't know if I got something, man. I'll come back to it, man. We can
Well, I'm
roll
not.
on with the next question if you want to.
No,
I
you're
think you
good.
did a good job of coming up with that one anyway, and I had already kind of talked about it. So
No, but you're good. You're good.
yeah,
I think to me one of the biggest obstacles is not number one being unaware that clarity exists, right? And then not necessarily knowing what clarity is. I think
mm,
those are obstacles within themselves because if I don't know what clarity is, I just think the situations that I find myself in are situational. There are situations that happen and life happens to everybody. And you know the common term, life be lifing, right? And that's what we do. But clarity is still available, even though I don't know about the thing. And so I think that's another one that is a common obstacle that prevents us from achieving clarity because we don't know clarity is a thing, nor do we know that clarity is available. So, because of that, what we do is we go out there and get information. And the information we're trying to do, we're trying to inject and employ said information based upon where we are, but it may require that we have a degree of clarity for that information to work for us. And therefore, when that information does not work, we say, well, that didn't work for me. No, it's not that it didn't work for you. You were not properly postured for it to work. So I kind of want to inject that in as well because that is another common obstacle. Now, if I keep going, I go too far. Just let me know so I can stop and let you.
mm,
Because going back to everything we talked about, having the wrong people in your social circle. When you have the wrong people in your social circle, that prevents us from achieving clarity because they themselves bring confusion. They don't have clarity themselves. They're indecisive. They're stressed. They're all of that. So now, because we're in shared spaces, now your indecisiveness and your stress ends up becoming my problem. And so, because I just want you to be happy, I want what's best for you, blah, 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 blah. I become a listening ear to a person who does not have clarity. They have stress, they have indecisiveness, they have emotional turmoil. And then those things now become mine because I am listening. I am hanging out with them. I'm giving them a large quantity of my time. And because I'm giving them a large quantity of my time, we now sharing in that. We're sharing in the indecisiveness that they have. We're sharing in emotional turmoil. We're sharing in all of this. Um, so, man, this is that. I think this is a good question, but it look like you're about to say something.
Yeah, I found one. I thought about one, and it's kind of two into one, and that is a word in the famous word of Across the Table with Christopher McClellan, ego. Right. So ego, and when people think that they know everything, and I don't know how closely related they are, but when I'm thinking about someone who's egotistical and thinks that they know everything, I kind of, not in all cases, but in this particular case, I'm speaking about an individual that I know. And because it's easy to reference when you can sometimes put a face or behavior with somebody that you know. Sometimes it's just easier. So for me, I think that this person could be really great at something, but their ego and their ability, because they think they know everything, they're not open to listening to what someone else has to say. It's like, hey man, maybe you should do this. Hey homegirl, you should do this. Whoever it may be, someone may come up to you, but you're not open to even having a conversation because your ego won't allow you to take information from someone who doesn't look like you. Your ego won't allow you to take information who may not be the same gender as you, or your ego may not allow you to take information from fill in the blank. So I think that's a big obstacle right there that prevents people from achieving clarity. And they walk and run around, they can't figure it out, and why things are not getting more clear. And it's like, brother, like people that have been knocking on your door trying to give you clarity and trying to help you with your clarity, but you've been dismissive of them. So I think that's one right there too.
Man, such a small word with a huge impact. I think that's a golden goose, to be honest with you. Like, I think when it comes down to ego, make no mistake about it, nobody's exempt from it, right?
Nobody.
And I think it requires us to consistently take inventory of ourselves. So I think that's a great space to jump into techniques for gaining clarity. And I don't want to steal your thunder because you mentioned ego, so I give it to you to kind of help me understand how I can like put my ego on the shelf.
Mm.
Proven techniques to help us achieve greater clarity.
And this goes back to the self-awareness piece, but the self-awareness piece is only good is if you are being truthful with who you are. So um here's what I'm saying. I'm a plug coaching right now. Um, Coaching is a good way, and yes, I'm a plug coaching. There are a bunch of free services out there that you can go to. However, I think sometimes having some paid coaching may help. We don't come out here and plug and coaching and different things like that. But sometimes I think it's okay. Sometimes it's okay to lead people in the direction, and sometimes when we want something, it's okay to pay for it. So I believe one thing you can do is you can go and get some paid counseling services. I think counseling services can help you get clarity, because what counseling kind of starts you from where you are right now and to wherever it is you want to go, or where you want to be in the future, your future self, which are all great things. But that road, sometimes we may not know how to get there, but talking with a counselor, sometimes you can ask certain questions, or bring out certain prompts, and that allow you to bring that allow you to have more clarity on what you go through, or through your journey down, in order to get to wherever it is that you're trying to go. But that road needs to be clear, and if it's not clear, then it's sometimes it's a lot harder to get through. So Yeah, so go get some paid coaching, and they can teach you a whole bunch of techniques and different things like that that you can do to help you achieve greater clarity. I didn't want to bow out of this question. I just looked at it more of an opportunity to plug the counseling.
I love it. I love it. And I agree with you 100%. Like, everybody, I think there are two groups of people that exist. You got those people who don't know they need coaching, and then you got those who do know that they need coaching. But
Hmm.
everybody needs coaching. Make no mistakes about it. A coach has a coach. I don't care who you are. Like, I think that's what, if you are trying to get beyond something, then it requires you to invest in yourself. And I think it was Albert Einstein who said that this mind has created some problems that this mind can't solve. That's really what coaching allows you to do. The biggest return that you're ever going to receive on any investment is the investment in yourself. So I'm telling you guys right now, before you go out there and get those big old income tax checks, don't go out there and buy a new car. Invest in yourself. Like, and
Yep.
trust me when I tell you, like, that return will be exponentially more valuable than that new car or that new pair of red bottom shoes or whatever it is you decide. You have already determined in your mind what you're gonna spend that income tax check on.
Hmm.
Right. I'm telling you, and I can't stress this piece enough, because within the coaching environment, there's going to be a number of things that you're going to get. You're going to get the assessment that we talked about, right? Not only will you get the assessment, you're going to get someone who actually works with you to develop a plan of action on where you want to go, your future self. And it's generally geared and mostly geared on the hope of the future that you want. Now, I'm gonna go back to what you said. I think you mentioned it previously about the New Year's resolutions, right? A lot of times, like, they're just like these little goals that they just created, and then that goal is kind of rooted in some motivational factor, and then, as you know, motivation tends to wane, and then eventually the activity that goes towards that resolution wanes as well. But the difference is coaching focuses on something more concrete. It's not about motivation, it's more about inspiration, right? You have an accountability partner that is going to be there with you to hold you accountable for what you said you were going to do during your last conversation. I don't really care what you said you wanted to do. You could have said that, hey, I want to practice mindfulness. And I'm talking about different things at this point, techniques that actually gets you to the point of clarity. You say you want to practice mindfulness and meditation. Great. When we come back to the coaching session, not only will we talk about what it was like, we will talk about how long you spent in it and then what was the result on the backside of it. You may want to talk about journaling. Great. Not only will you talk about journaling, because I think most people journal wrong. Not only will you talk about journaling, we're going to talk about different techniques of journaling, how to do it, what to write down, what to assess in that writing down, and then how to use that moving forward. Um, I don't care if we want to talk, if you want to, talk about different methods of reducing stress. We'll talk about deep breathing, like how to do that and when to do it. What's the appropriate means of doing it, things of that nature. So all of those things are available in the coaching environment, just simply for clarity.
Yep.
Understanding what the truth is, what
Hmm.
is true, facts, assumptions, and opinions. Oh, yeah, by the way, how do you behave when somebody gives you their observation on self, their feedback? Because understanding how you respond to feedback is huge. If
Hmm.
you don't respond in the appropriate manner, why should I continue to give you feedback? That should be
Hmm.
everybody's posture. I'm sorry.
Yep.
I shouldn't keep giving you feedback when you're telling me that feedback is unwelcome. So the question is, how do you respond to feedback? That's going to be a thing that is addressed in the coaching environment. So I love the fact that you plug coaching, because those are within the coaching environment will be proven techniques, not just for clarity, but for goal accomplishment, things of that nature. So I'm just throwing that
Hmm.
out there.
Thank you.
So I love it, man. I love it. Look here, man. We got some true false questions we never
Ooh, true
got before.
false.
Yeah, man. And looking at time, that might be all we have for today. So first and foremost, true or false? Clarity in life is solely about having clear goals and objectives without considering personal values or self awareness.
Mm. We going with false.
Very good.
I did
False.
all like this. I saw a video, TikTok video, and it was a dude. He was, um, he was saying that his hands battle each other.
Mm.
He started doing all this. He said he don't know. He never knows who's going to win, and it was a thing. I was like, it was
So does that
cool.
help? Does that help come to the correct answer? Because I'm asking for all the people who got to take the SATs and ACTs out there.
Had
Oh,
nothing to do with it.
it has nothing to do with. Okay, I
It
just
was the
wanted to make
stupid
sure.
part. The third S, the second S.
I got you. That's all right. That's all right. Hey, but I tell you what, if you're in college or if you're in high school and get ready to go to college and you got to take the SAT and you got a question that you don't know the answer to, just start doing
Yeah,
it.
there you go.
See what you come up with. I'm curious. I just want the feedback. All right, number two, true or false? Recognizing and addressing roadblocks is essential for achieving clarity and making informed decisions in both personal and professional contexts.
Mm. I'm gonna go false,
Okay.
and here's why.
Why are you doing that?
I don't think you have to. I don't think you have to recognize and address the roadblocks to have clarity.
Okay.
I think you can have clarity, but still, I think eventually you have to. Oh man, I may be going back to true. All right, so yes, true. It's true. It's
I
true.
love it.
Recognizing and addressing roadblocks is essential. Yes, true.
And this is why I love coaching. All right, very well. Number
Mm-hmm. Yes.
number three. And the reason why I say that because he came up with the answer himself.
Uh huh.
That's what coaching is all about. I love it.
Yep.
Number three, true or false? Techniques like journaling and meditation can enhance self awareness and are effective tools for gaining clarity about one's purpose and goals.
The answer is true.
The answer is true.
I was
No,
going to tell the people to go get counseling and go get coaching and find out.
I agree. I'm telling you, like these are just tools. Remember that. All
Just
right.
tools.
True or false? An action plan for achieving clarity should remain static and not require any adjustments or reassessments over time.
False. And the reason why I'm saying false is because it says over time. I think that maybe initially doing certain portions or doing certain parts of the action plan, we need to be on it. We ain't doing no adjustments. I think certain things we need to stick to, but I do think, as long as all of those things are outlined in the action plan, then I think it's cool. So I think it's true.
Um, it's one word. Well, it's a couple words actually. Um, I think you said the right
Should.
answer. I think you said the right answer the first time, and then I think
Uh-huh.
you changed it. I could have been wrong. An action plan for achieving clarity should remain static and not require any adjustments or reassessments over time. I say it like this: the higher I go in altitude, what I look at must change. So the answer is false.
Yep. Y'all see that, folks? They in the chat spinning their wheels right now. They're like, huh, what?
But I think that's important for us to understand.
I
An, e-
agree.
an eagle does not have to worry about a lot of predators once
Mm-hmm.
it's flying at its max altitude
Yep.
because the eagle is the only predator that flies at altitude. So when we elevate in life, we must readjust what clarity looks like because we no longer have the same problems that we once had in the beginning. We no longer struggle with um, some of those confusions that we had previously, distractions that we had previously. I don't know. I'm sorry. I know somebody's going to put a name in the chat. And I'm looking for the name that they're going to put in the chat. I'm waiting on y'all. Y'all going to put this name in the chat. I don't know, and I'm using this just as an example. I don't know too many billionaires who have the distraction of social media.
Mm.
Now, I'm just See, you had the name popped in
Mm,
your head too.
there you go.
I'm just saying, and I'm not saying that the air is a status. That's not what I'm saying. No, I'm saying the air is clarity. When I say air, I'm talking about the backside of billion or million. I'm just saying that at certain altitudes in life, once you achieve certain things, then you don't necessarily worry about the previous things that you once worried about. So it must change. Okay, last one. True or false? Self reflection and adaptability play a crucial role in maintaining clarity and making progress towards goal.
Mm, I'm gonna say true. Yeah, true. Yeah, true.
That answer
Final
is
answer.
that answer is 100% true. So there you have it again, our true or false questions. As always, I know you guys enjoy that. We enjoy it.
I did.
Um, and of course, I enjoyed this conversation. But at all times, this takes us to our bittersweet moment. As you guys know, we call this our actionable advice. Unc, you going first for me?
I got it.
All right, here we go.
Oh, folks, people, look. Today is December the 31st. A lot of people are going to be going out there creating New Year's resolutions. So, to that, what I'm going to say is this: if you plan on partaking in your New Year's resolution, what I'm going to ask you to do is this: create or make sure that you have a path of clarity that goes into creating your goal. If you want to have purpose, we're talking about powerful insights to define purpose and achieving your goals. So it first starts with having a good understanding, some research, maybe a good knowledge base about your goal and about what it takes to get there. A lot of people are going to start tonight and they're going to say, tonight, this is what I'm going to do. I am going to start losing weight. I am going to cut out sugar. I'm going to do whatever it may be. I'm going to stop drinking. I'm going to stop smoking. Have a plan for it. That's all I'm asking y'all to do. So the actual advice for today and going forward for 2025, whatever it is you plan on doing the rest of this year, is have a path of clarity when it comes to creating any and every goal or New Year's resolution that you plan on doing this year.
I'm with you. This is the end of the year, and a lot of people are going to make New Year's resolutions. And those resolutions are going to be rooted in something simple, like you said, losing weight, stop drinking, whatever the case may be. But I also offer that those resolutions are based upon something simple and plain, like your lower aspects of existence. Why not focus on something that's more meaningful? This conversation was about clarity, right? And I think some of the things that you heard today, it should have created clarity. But if you want clarity, first and foremost, become a coaching client. I think that's where we're going to start at, right? I think it's important for us to realize how valuable coaching can potentially be in your life. If you've never experienced it, then it doesn't make a whole lot of sense to shoot down something you never experienced. I'm going to start there. But remember, I said the state of clarity is an understanding that is directed towards my values and goals, which gives me direction in life. So if I don't have clear codified values, if I don't have clear established goals in my life, then what direction am I traveling in? I think all of those things are important for me to understand because once I have those, now I have intentional living, I now have confidence, and I also have a direction in which I can go. It gives me clarity in decision making, all of those things. So, what I would say for your actionable advice If you're going to do it on your own, that's fine. But for your actionable advice, clearly identify values, clearly identify your goals, clearly identify the direction that you're going so that you can have the necessary clarity to live with intentionality so that you can be confident and at the end of the day make the decisions that are aligned with those particular goals. And that is my actionable advice for today. Unk with
Yes,
the
sir.
funk.
Another
Another great show, brother.
great one.
Another great show. As always, you bring, like I told you in the beginning, man, you always add value. So,
Enjoyed this.
yeah, never question the fact whether or not you add value. Your presence is valuable. I'm just going to put that out there. And just as your presence is valued, the people in the chat, the most loyal and outstanding fans, and I'm using the word fans, you guys are not fanatics. You guys are family to us. So, fams, there you go. That's the best.
Bam. Yeah.
Fams, there you go. The best word. You guys are value added as well. So every time you show up, we love the comments that you leave us. We love the questions that you ask. And again, like I tend to say all the time, you are a functional part of each and every show. So that being said, on behalf of my co-host here, the Uncle Junior, the consistency coach, my name is Dwayne Dwyer, the mindset coach, and this is Coach's Corner signing out for 2024. See you guys in 2025.